Democracies are built on inherited mechanical frameworks. The British Westminster system remains the most widely exported framework in political history. At its core sits the fusion of executive and legislative powers, a direct contrast to the American model of strict branch separation. This is coupled with responsible government, where the executive branch only maintains power as long as it holds the confidence of the elected chamber. The Dominion of Canada in 1867 and the Republic of Ireland in 1922 both adopted this exact democratic operating system. Despite starting with nearly identical structural DNA, these two states evolved into polar opposite political cultures. The Westminster model acts as an adaptable chassis, yielding radically different results based on which electoral engine is installed. To manage a massive, decentralized North American geography, Canada established a federal constitutional monarchy. Ireland broke from British rule to establish a compact, unitary republic governed by a rigid written constitution. This divergence was driven by their choice of electoral system. Canada retained the traditional British voting mechanism, while Ireland fundamentally replaced it. Canada uses first-past-the-post, a majoritarian system designed to manufacture clear, decisive winners. Ireland uses proportional representation by single transferable vote, a system designed to manufacture consensus. These differing mathematical engines dictate whether a state drifts towards regional polarization or structural cooperation. First-past-the-post mechanics are simple. The candidate with the most votes in a district wins the seat. In 2021, Canadian Conservatives won the most votes, yet Liberals won 160 seats to their 119. Liberals won efficient margins in Ontario, while Conservatives racked up unrewarded surplus votes out west. In 1993, this exact math left the Progressive Conservatives with just 2 seats. This postcode lottery encourages politicians to ignore national consensus and cater to hyper-regional demographics. By translating distributed support into artificial majority power, the first-past-the-post system actively drives a massive wedge into regional fault lines, splitting the country. Ireland installed a different engine into their 1937 constitution, proportional representation by single transferable vote. Instead of single-member ridings, Irish districts send teams of 3 to 5 representatives to the Dáil. Irish voters rank candidates 1, 2, and 3. To win, a candidate must reach a mathematical threshold called the quota. Once hit, their surplus votes cascade down to secondary choices, ensuring very few votes are wasted. The resulting parliament tightly mirrors the actual popular vote of the electorate, making single-party majorities mathematically difficult to achieve. Because PRSTV requires parties to appeal for secondary preferences from rival supporters, it creates a massive structural incentive for cross-party cooperation. This is reflected in Ireland's identity-based polarization levels, which are often so low they fail to meet the minimum threshold on global charts. Canada's artificial majorities yield executive dominance. The Prime Minister exercises unchecked control. Rigid discipline prevents any opposition negotiation. Irish executive power is different. Because majorities are rare, the Taoiseach governs through multi-party coalitions. Following the 2020 election, century-old Civil War rivals Fianna Fáil and Fianna Gael formed a grand coalition alongside the smaller Green Party. This power sharing was governed by a binding agreement, with the 2 rival leaders literally rotating the office of Taoiseach midway through their term. Smaller junior partners in these coalitions gain significant leverage to enact major policy, like ambitious climate laws, because their support is required for the government to survive. First-past-the-post centralizes power securely in a single office, while PRSTV forcibly distributes that same power across a wide network of collaborators. Beyond elections, Canada uses its Senate to check the House of Commons. However, the Senate is entirely appointed on the Prime Minister's advice, leading to questions about its democratic authority to block elected members of Parliament. Canada also utilizes the Notwithstanding Clause, which allows the legislature to temporarily override parts of the Charter of Rights to maintain parliamentary sovereignty. Ireland's upper house is weak, but their check on power rests with a directly elected president. This diagram shows the Article 26 reference. The president can refer any bill to the Supreme Court for a constitutional check before signing it into law. Combined with a constitution that can only be amended by a national referendum, The ultimate sovereign veto sits with the public, not the Parliament. Canada relies on political tradition and legislative overrides, while Ireland uses codified constitutional roadblocks to check power. The Westminster system is a highly adaptable operating system. Pairing it with first-past-the-post yields centralized executive power, regional fragmentation, and frequent distortions. Pairing it with PRSTV and constitutional guardrails results in structural consensus, coalition governance, and a low-polarization interconnected network. Both systems reflect their priorities. Canada chose decisive governance over vast geography. Ireland chose ideological accuracy and constitutional rigidity. The specific math behind a nation's vote count establishes the structural boundaries of the state, defining how power is exercised long after the ballots are counted.